Thanks for tuning in to Electric People Podcast. I'm Ty Williams. Today, we sat down with Nicky Z, Nick Zimmerman, out on the East Coast. Darrell Doucette co-hosted with me. And for you guys that know Nicky Z, you probably smiled as you clicked this episode today. The dude is light, bright, but he's also deep. I've gotten to know him over the last couple of years, and every time I'm around him, the vibes are high. The energy is really good. I think that's something that's very important for leaders, you know, like early sales isms, like the early Brian Tracy quotes and things like that. They talk about sales being simply a transfer of energy. And whenever you're around Nicky Z, the energy is really high. And it's because he has a very optimistic, a very positive, he's got a creator's mindset, and he's all in on it. He loves to bring the levity. He loves to bring the excitement, loves to bring the energy. And you'll hear that immediately in this episode. The thing that I took most away from this episode is, mainly two things. Number one is just what a great student Zimmerman is. Whenever he can glean knowledge or whenever he can glean some development from somebody, he takes that opportunity. And something that I've noticed, I'm sure you've noticed around being successful people, is they're always eager to share. Successful people always want to contribute. They always want to help other people on their path. And a lot of times, you know, they see a lot of themselves in the up and coming hustler, leader and group, people that are on the same path, and they love to help. And Nick takes full advantage of that, which I always appreciate when I'm with him, and I see him doing that with other people. But the second thing is, it made me very grateful for this opportunity. There's a lot of people that work really hard. There's a lot of people that spend time developing. There's a lot of people that are committed to their industry and their companies, but it doesn't materialize through, outcomes that really they didn't have anything to do with. And so Nick talks about his trying to find this opportunity. And it really made me feel like, okay, finding the opportunity is half of the battle. And we're all kind of lucky to be here. We're lucky to be alive at this time when we have this power problem. We're lucky that, capitalism works the way it does so that they can fund the solution. We're grateful that technology is where it's at. We're grateful that politically we can have these conversations, align interests. We're grateful that it's, again, one of my favorite quotes, Theodore Roosevelt, the greatest gift that life has to offer is the chance to work hard at work worth doing, which we're doing. That said, Nick was working really hard at work worth doing, but really took off when he came in contact with a company that could support him, a company that could keep up, a company that he could contribute to that had the resources to actually pull this thing off. And hearing his career starting in cable and moving into solar and then eventually finding Sunrun, it broadened my perspective. I hope it does the same for you. And then also I loved the isms, like the leadership isms. He's a student of leadership, but he's also a professor. So sit back, smile, enjoy this one, and thanks, Nicky Z, for sharing your knowledge and sharing your light with us. The street is where we create. We call it suburbanpreneurship.
Mixing big company resources with an entrepreneurial spirit.
This is Electric People. Hey, New Orleans looks good on you, man.
Thanks.
This is so New Orleans right now?
Yeah. Listen, I've never been to NOLA.
Really?
Take the Jersey boy, put him in New Orleans, see what happens.
I feel like I'm in a prime thick of the coolest place to live in the world. But then whenever I go somewhere, like last night, for instance, everybody's like, "You're not from where are you from?"
Really?
Yeah.
Were you wearing that New York hat?
Listen, I wore it purposely for this, right? I have to represent, right? Yeah. I think I wore that the first night, the Yankee hat, but...
Then he just tells them about all the fish he shot with a bow and arrow the night before. They're like, never mind, you're here. You're us.
Literally, I show my wife these pictures, these Utah boys got you out slinging arrows. What are you doing? But we were, where were we at yesterday? What was that place called?
Bourbon Street.
No, but the main one that we went back to 3 times?
I don't remember.
So this girl's like, you're not from around here. I was like, nope. I was like, well, how did you tell? I was like, well, this, the way you carry yourself. I'm like, what does that mean? Yeah. I was like, what do you mean carry myself? Yeah. He's like, well, you got 2 chains on. And I'm like, okay. He's like, you got a backwards hat on.
No chain place or a one
right,
chain?
I'm like, am I doing something wrong?
You're the only person with 2 chains.
Well, Jeff had 2 chains, but he is also from New Jersey. So
I'm wearing 3 currently.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I'm tucking mine now, man. I'm not playing any more games.
I've been in Jersey for 7, 8 years. I think a chain is a year away. It's going to happen.
Get our man a chain here, dude.
Okay, well, let's see how.
In a year.
Any 1 year?
Well, hey, that's like a developmental law is you do things before you're ready. That way you always stay in the
the current of life.
Yeah. No, you know though, like I think if you got like one longer chain and a Jesus piece, it'd be epic.
Or do we go full 80s and do like a full rope? Like just jump right in.
Oh yeah, you get the high top fade too. You shut it down.
You guys you're in charge? Tell me what.
Okay, I'll bring in my barber. It'll be good.
So tell me how you got started in street sales or direct to home sales.
So I went to schools in college. I graduated in 2008.
What'd you study?
Communications, minor in business. So I wanted to be an on-air, like radio host.
Oh, you'd be great at that.
I would love that, yeah. But
Shelf that. Come back to it later, right?
Yeah, it's not going anywhere.
well, I got offered a job in North Carolina to work a 3 to like 6 shift from like WBO, whatever.
3 to 6, like in the afternoon.
AM.
Oh,
Yeah.
you got to cut your teeth in the morning.
Oh my. And not only that, it's like I move away from everything that I know. I'm born and raised in New Jersey, never left. And I'm going to go and move to North Carolina for like $37,000 a year to do what?
That's
Play
what
music?
That's what college gets you.
Right. And, you know, 08 was the financial crisis and there was like no jobs, like nothing. And I remember being at a job fair at school and my advisor was like, oh, fiber optic, like this is the new future. Go talk to this guy. It was a Verizon fiber optic sales rep. So I sat down and talked to him and he just was like, yeah, come in for an interview. I'm like, sure, come in, I'll check it out. I went in for an interview. They brought me in for a second round to go to the field. And I'm like, okay. And I had no idea what the pay was, nothing. So I'm like, let me just go. So I'm in the field with this guy. His name, no BS, his name is Anthony Guido. Swear. I'll show you his Instagram. I swear. He was
That's
my
not a
leader.
name. That's a brand.
Yeah. Oh, because they paired me up. He's like, this is Jersey Shore, fist pumping kid. You're a Jersey Shore. Like,
You're like North Carolina, 3 to 6 a.m. Anthony Guido.
right. I don't. It was like, I guess I got to go with this guy. But no, like.
Hey, promise me that in the year 2025, you will reach out and try to recruit Anthony Guido.
Send him.
I don't know, man. I don't think he'd be good at it anymore. I like passed him in like 2 months. Like I was like way past him. But so I went out with him and he did 3 deals in like 2 hours.
And this is door to door.
Door to door knocking. And I'm like, seems pretty easy. And I'm like, so how much did you make? He's like, oh, like $350. I'm like, wow. I was like, in 2 hours, like, and then I'm like, so like, what's the pay like? And he's like, it's commission. I'm like, so how much is that? Like, so like, and I didn't know what commission meant.
How old were you?
22.
Yeah.
Yeah, right out of college. And I was like, commission. So what if I don't sell anything? And he like, they don't make shit. And I'm like, oh.
Dude, let me just say, if anybody is listening to this and don't think they're a good recruiter, you got Anthony Guido at a college fair selling door-to-door fiber optics for a couple $100 a pop.
Right.
That got Nicky Z to come out and work with him without ever explaining comp. Moral of the story, just reach out. Yeah. Just try. You know what I mean?
It was 3 hours in on the door and I found out it's a commission.
That's right. After he's already in.
So easy. I'm like, I could do this. I could do this. So I started.
Did any part of you feel like, you had gone to college that you didn't want to go into like a direct to home job, or did that register? I think sometimes recruiters worry about that. Did ever that sit with you or not really?
Yeah, a little bit because it was just the time. It was like there was nothing. So I felt like I was like, well, let me just try this out, and when things get better, maybe I go back into my field or something. And it just took me over. Like the culture, and it's very similar to what we have here. And there was like a management training program to advance and work your way up to run a sales team, run an office. In 9 months, I moved up to a management position, and then in like another 5 more months, I got my own location. Like I ran the place that I was at, and my manager went to a different location and branched off. It's like a newer market. So I ran FiOS door-to-door sales in New Brunswick, New Jersey, 2009, and I was there for about 7 years. Like ran sales teams. We were the #1 sales team office across the entire country. Have you ever heard of a company called Sidcor? Like they were a big direct sales company back.
I remember though when we used to do like seasonal sales, like when we'd travel like across the country, in the same years, right? Like I did that from 2004 to like 13.
Yeah.
And every time they were laying cable, every time they were laying fiber, it was like such a thing. They would have to come and trench it, and they're like, oh, Verizon's here running FiOS and all that stuff.
Yeah, and we would go to these neighborhoods, and like when it would get newly lit, that was the thing. Like to me, it was a simple. People wanted it, right?
They were excited probably to get faster.
Like the internet's coming to my town.
Yeah, not only that, like,
and it's coming through trenches in the dirt.
And then like cable companies were the monopoly. So like you had like it's kind of like the utility companies here are the monopoly. Like this is your other option. So, it was good for a while, and then, you know, cable died. I mean, everybody streams, you know, you just need internet. That cut commissions pretty significant. A lot of my guys were leaving to go do other things. One of the guys, ironically, this is around 2014, one of the guys left, and he went to Vivint. And you might know him. He came to our office once.
To Vivint Solar.
Yeah, you know Ramiro Fleming by chance?
No. I don't think I met him.
He's Cali, went to Cali. And he tried to recruit me to come do it. He's like, you kill this, these guys are making bank. And I'm like, solar? I'm like, what the hell sells solar? Like, what?
Especially on the East Coast then, right?
Yeah, like you see like one house in like a neighborhood of like 5,000 homes that had it. And I was like the weird science teacher that,
and they're all like, the panels are all murky and they're like a thick box.
Yeah, and it's like 2 feet off the house.
Oh my God, bright blue, you know, solar panels, tic-tac-toe board looking things. But I was like, yeah, nah, I'm good. And then I actually left the cable to do work for the competitor, the actual Optimum cable, and I was working there for a while, but I dabbled in solar part-time because he kept like trying to talk to me about it, and I'm like, well, I got a book of customers. Let me see if they want to cut their electric bill. And over time, gradually, the part-time money started becoming better than the full-time money. And I was at a corporation, I was at like Charter, Optimum, and I was getting a base salary, commission, 401k, bennies, the whole nine. And my backtrack, I met my wife through work, through the last job when I worked at Verizon. And I go to her, I'm like, I don't know, like this solar thing is like kind of a thing. Like, I don't know what I should do. And this was around COVID. And she was like, since when are you such a bleep to do 100% commission sales? Like, why would you be scared to do it? And I'm like, well, when your wife says that to you, you're like.
Was she a sales rep?
When I met you, you weren't a bleep.
No.
What happened to you?
I don't know.
I just introduced my daughter Scout. She's 12. I just introduced her to the original Top Gun, just like over Christmas break. It's a proud moment in a father's life when you get to watch Top Gun.
Yeah, great movie.
And it was funny because that just reminded me of that when she's like, when I met you, you were larger than life. And then Maverick's this like puddle of softness. But you need that woman every now and then to be like, hey, remember who you are.
Yeah, she's the reasons why. Like,
but was she selling before? You said you met her at work.
So she was my rep I was the manager running the location. She was one of her reps, and she was great. She was really good. She could actually and she's full blown 100% Italian, same type of thing, Jersey Shore girl, beach girl.
Real reserved, kind of keeps her opinions to herself.
Yeah, Man, she'll tell you exactly how she feels right off the bat. But so she like, she was good at the sales, and the problem is that like, doing it for say 2 years at this point, she's like, I'm overwhelmed. I got to do something different. And then she ended up going into like tech sales, and then she works for Microsoft now. But she really told me, she's like, you need, like, why not? Like, just do it. Like, if you're making good money doing it, like, I trust that you can sell and you've been doing it forever. Why not? I'm like, okay. And I literally just cut all ties. I jumped feet in, and I ended up at like the dealer world. And this is before I knew Sunrun like existed or Vivint. At the time, I didn't go with Vivint. I went with another local guy, and it wasn't bad. But the problem is there was always hiccups. There was always an issue. And then like over time it became.
Then when it's every time.
Yeah, over time more and more and more. And then one time I did everything right. I sold the lady, she was happy with it, whatnot. But before install, she had to sign off on a change order. They canceled whatever doc I had sent and she signed up for, and she's supposed to sign a new one before they did the install. The installer just did the install without signing the new doc. So she made a fuss about like, I don't like where the panels are at or something like that. And the owner of the company tried to claw me back for the loan amount. Yeah, I'm like, there's no, how can I be like upside, like, and I freaked out and I lost it. And there was a guy that was running a sales office in like Pennsauken area, like South Jersey, like Cherry Hill. And I knew him from Verizon days. He ran a Verizon office in South Jersey, I was Central. We would send road trips, we knew each other. We were friendly. We weren't like boys, but we knew each other. He was like, yeah, man, I'm seeing you're in solar. Why don't you come check out my office? And he was like a small, no-name dealer, but I had a couple of guys. He's like, I need like a sales manager to help me grow this thing. So I was like, yeah, I'll come check it out. And he just tried to run it like the sales when we did at Verizon. We came in full suits every day, decked out to the nines, right?
Wait, you wore a suit?
Oh, yeah, every day at the office.
Door to door?
Well, no, I would take off the tie and roll up the sleeves.
Man. Really?
Yeah, 100%. Sometimes it was cold. Yeah, I would go full suit sometimes. Yeah, people think I was Jehovah's.
Yeah, right.
My intro would be like, do you accept Jesus Christ, your Lord and Savior? No, I'm just kidding. It's about the cable. And it'll be an icebreaker. But he brought me in, tried to see the sales team. We worked out comp, talked about red lines and the whole nine. And I was like, all right, sounds good. I'll do it. I'm in, right? And I crushed it. Like they had about 6 guys. We blew up to about 15. They were doing like 1 to 2 installs like a month. Like we were growing the team to like maybe like 12 sales a week. Like we were ramping up.
That's the hard stuff too, because it's like to go from 0 to 12 and from 1 sale to like 10, like especially with like the resources of that time. That's a lot. That's a lot of yeah, dude. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, and like they couldn't handle it. And then like
they couldn't handle that volume.
Yeah, because they had a separate installer that was their buddy. So he was solar installer X, he was solar sales team B, and like I did probably 45 personal sales in 6 months and got paid on 4.
Jeez.
Yeah, and I'm talking like I had a baby on the way. My wife was like, at the time, like when I kind of found out this wasn't gonna pan out, the baby was like maybe 2 months old. And I put a deposit on a pool in my backyard, like I redid my whole backyard in expectations of money coming in, because in the other, like I didn't have issues with getting paid. It just like slight 20% off here, for $800, clawback on that, whatever, to getting paid like nothing, 0. And like he made up this whole big spiel. He basically was a Ponzi scheme to us. He scammed us, he completely lied to us, and I lost all that money. And then the whole time, that summer, Scott Monestein was reaching out to me like, hey man, why don't you just come check us out? Hey man, I'm good where I'm at. Hey man, like, and always kept like, come on, come check us out. Come on, come check. And then it was just like that consistency of like reaching out. I'm like, yeah, man, stuff's hitting the fan here. Like, I got to figure something out. So I reached out to him and I had a deal. I was like, all right, listen, let's go close this one. Let me see the process and we'll go from there. We go there, the lady reams him out. Like, get out of the house. We don't want it. I thought somebody told us this was free. You're telling me there's a bill.
You brought Scott to a customer that you had to flip him and put him through that process.
So the guy at the company, he set an appointment. And we were just going blind, like, let's go try to close this guy. And it was a wife with her mother that's lived in the house, and the husband lived in another house. It was a weird situation. But I could tell why he probably didn't want to live in the house.
It was a lot.
She's nuts. No, it's crazy lady, I'm telling you. Like, she's like nuts. She's like, I told you, just freak it out. So we get out.
He's like, I'm gonna need my own place.
Some people do their own room. He's like, I need a house.
Literally. And it was like literally like 5 blocks down the road. And he was like, well, I have solar, I have Sunrun on my house, but I need more pay. I'm still getting electric bills. Guy's like, all right, let's go. And then he just one-stopped it, boom, 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 did it. And then he was like, all right. I was like, wow, that was like great. Like, it's that simple? He's like, yeah. I was like, my process is so much longer. And he's like, how'd you know? Like, you didn't run credit. Like, how'd you know? I was like, oh, we got this button pre-screened, dude. I was like, what? I was like, wow, all right, so I guess we'll split it. And he's like, nah, bro, you work for Sunrun now. I said, say less. And I just started that day. Yeah, I got onboarded, met Brady Cullum, did the whole background thing.
Dude, good for you. The one thing that I often, that I've seen thousands of times, and I try to articulate this to people that are considering going to like a smaller, more under-resourced shop, a dealer, something like that, is they'll always paint a picture of the best case scenario, right? So they'll say like, they'll show you the spreadsheet, and the math isn't wrong, it just doesn't include the likely assumptions or the deductions that always happen. So one thing that I always tell people when they go is I'll say, listen, they're gonna pay you for your installs. It's not like they're gonna just short you your commissions, but it is going to be less, and there's gonna be a reason why it's less. And the reason's gonna make sense at the time. But then at the end of the year, if you compare your opportunity and your earnings to somebody else that's backed by resources, it's gonna be significantly different. And so a lot of times they'll go and they'll say, oh, well, we were gonna grow the office, but then these 5 things happened and our supplier, and then we had to switch. And I'm like, and they think that they think that that's a one-off rather than the norm. Right? Your experience actually confirms what I've seen 1,000 times, where it's like, it's always that. It just seems like you saw it and made the move before you just accepted it because the worst thing that can happen is people are like, oh, the whole industry is this way.
That's where I was at. So at the end of it, I was like, I'm out on solar. I'm about to go back to cable. Like, I gotta figure my life out.
That's the worst thing.
Yeah. And then like
but the fact that that Scott was talking to you, consistently and, checking in every now.
Well, the fact that he wrote me the check that day, I need it. Okay, what do I got? I'll start. Like, literally.
You hand it to your pool guy.
Dude, we just did an interview. Literally. I'm not sure where this will show up in the rotation, but probably it will be 5 episodes ago by the time this airs. This guy named Bob Gay. So Bob Gay's like, in the episode, he's a friend of Paul Dixon's, and he calls him like the father of modern capitalism. He runs these massive private equity groups. But he was working for GE, so he was like running private deals for GE. And Mitt Romney at Bain Capital hit him up and said, come work for me. And it was a similar situation where he basically said, like, Bain was a startup, a smaller shop, and he was coming from a massive company. And he said, how much do I need to pay you? And he's like, well, this is what I'm making now. And literally Mitt wrote him a personal check and handed it to him and said, okay, you work here. It's like, there's something to like, hey, can I get the right guy on the bus?
Especially for someone who's experienced like what feels like not real for a while, like not what I was told, et cetera, to see that kind of real is totally different.
Yeah, and he was talking up like everybody's making this, that, and the third, and I'm like, I have to see it. And I had, like I told you, I trained up that sales team, and the owner of the company, like basically just put his feet up on the desk, yeah, do this, and I did all the work. So these guys all bought into me, and like, cause I took them out to the field, I trained, teach, and developed them, I showed them how to close, I did everything. So
you rolled that suit up, man.
What?
You rolled that suit up.
100%.
Roll those sleeves up. Yeah.
And then if you want to touch on
Oh yeah, when I met you.
me coming in, but I came into
What
it.
he was wearing.
Couple of chains at least.
3-piece.
No, I couldn't afford chains then. Some of my chains. You know,
You're like chains from the mall, like the
Right.
center kiosk at the mall, though, not like the.
Yeah. You ever see Ted? Ted?
No.
Oh, you never seen the movie Ted?
No, that's the one with the stuffed animal.
Yeah, when Mark Wahlberg goes up to Mila Kunis, she's like, "Oh yeah, these are the earrings. You know the ones you liked at the kiosk at the mall." And then she's like, "Thanks."
At the kiosk at the mall.
It was like the ugliest thing, but yeah, so that's how that panned out. And then I ended up starting, and I went back to the guys that were working there, and I'm like, this is real. Because I remember coming in and watching a meeting, and I thought it was the coolest thing, because I first, like, League TV, I'm like, they got a scrolling thing like Sports Center. Like I'm calling these, I'm like there's like 100 people here. Like everybody's just dapping each other up. It's like, and everybody's wearing snapbacks and like hoodies. And I'm like, I went there like hair gel, like looking professional.
When I met Nick that first meeting, I was at that office that day, and you always know a new rep in the back.
And you always forget to tell him, hey, dress like you're going to the gym, but like your
Yeah.
nice gym clothes.
Yeah, we forgot to tell him. He just heard first day of work.
Yeah.
The first day of work. Yeah. And so he came in full 3-piece vest, everything.
Whole nine.
And
blowout.
immediately,
Blowout.
I'm like, all right, I know who we're talking to after
Yeah.
this.
The blowout. Tell me you actually had a
Oh
blowout.
man, I have pictures. Like, so we had the East Call. What was it? 8 months, summertime. And yeah, I ran on just about me and this kind of process of me coming up and like correlating it to the Jersey Shore. So it was like the acronyms like DTL and what DTL stand for, but like in solar terms. And yeah, I
What
had
does it stand for in
photos.
solar terms?
Yeah.
What is it?
Oh God.
GTL is Gym Tan Laundry in Jersey Shore.
I literally have
Yeah,
to
that's
pull it up
funny.
on my phone. But I had the photos of me, full blowout. One I'm actually at the bar with the situation. Yeah, like the whole nine. Yeah, I swear. That's my whole life too. Like down the shore, like growing up in North Jersey, going down the shore.
The beach.
Oh man,
The shore.
it's the shore. It's shore. Yeah, my wife calls it the beach. She's from the beach, so people in beach towns they call it the beach. I
Okay.
call it the shore, and she looks at me like it's the beach. And I'm like, well, I'm
There's a lot of
going
there's
down
a
the
lot
shore.
of a lot of debate in Jersey about a few things. Beach, shore,
You're
central.
like, let me go do my hair up and then see if you still want to argue with me about what it's called.
Well, the big thing for me is a Taylor ham, egg, and cheese. I know you had one at Zach's house the
Yes,
one
I
time.
did.
And you were like, it's okay.
It was probably better than okay. But these guys were all like,
We built
how is it? It's like this, yeah.
And now you got to be in the mood for one of those.
What was it again? What did it have
Taylor
on it?
ham, egg, and cheese?
What are you saying?
Taylor ham, egg,
Taylor
cheese.
ham, bacon, cheese.
Yeah, but you got to say it's got to be one word, Taylor, egg, and cheese.
What do you know?
Pork roll, no, egg and cheese.
That's the other debate.
But North Jersey calls it Taylor ham, South Jersey calls it pork roll, and then in your middle, you kind of like don't know who you are. Like, oh, it's pork roll, because the brand it's pork roll, but the brand is Taylor pork roll ham.
But every time I hear it, I'm like, what am I hearing? I sold for a little bit in Mississippi, and at first, it's funny because it's like, I feel like I've sold everywhere, but when I was like deep in Mississippi, like I would be in these sales and I'd be like, I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. I had to like focus, like almost like when you're in England and someone has like a heavy English accent, you have to like really pay attention. That's how your Taylor ham egg rolling thing is.
My apologies.
You have the same experience when you visit
I
Jersey.
think he said Taylor, but
Dude, everybody from NOLA's like, yeah, you're from like New York or something. I'm like, whoa, New Jersey, different, not New York.
I like that though. It's important to have like pride in where you're from, and I think there's a real something that I've learned from moving different places to do this job is you learn to like have like hometown like you gain like a love for the city that supports you, right? Like, so, you know, when I first started doing this, I moved to Thousand Oaks, California. And I learned to like love that area, and that area like eventually like it supported me and I supported it. It was like, there's a really good like sports teams, you know what I mean? Like people have that affinity for the place that they're from or the place that they love, and you go through the ups and downs together. You really do get that like on these teams. And it sounds like you kind of felt that, the camaraderie when you came in and maybe saw like, oh, there's another level to this.
And Nick was a transition for us too, for Sunrun, because it was Jersey and most markets at that time were largely staffed, especially leadership roles, with transplants. You know, people from out west, people from out of market.
Yes, sure.
And so his, you know, ability to kind of grow into a leadership role really changed the business to like local talent that gets it, you know, and can plug Sunrun into those markets.
So you look at all the leaders, and you're like, hey, let me show you, like, let me help you out here a little bit. Like,
Literally.
This is why this is going to help you sell more.
Well, it's funny. You should see Zach Allred, a picture of Zach Allred before meeting Nicky Z, and then a picture of Zach Allred
Picking up on
after.
some things.
Yeah, you got him dialed in a little bit. You locked him in.
Zach's at 2 Chainz stage right now himself.
Yeah, we're getting him at 3rd.
Oof.
He's moving to 3.
Yeah,
basically.
birthday's coming around the corner.
The moment though, meeting Nick was cool because, you know, Brady Cullen gives us a rundown. Here's where this guy's at. Here's what Nick got to talk about. We're like, all right, full 3-piece suit, managed cable. Like cable's a well-known industry, like has years of management. You know, you sit down with that type of guy, you always know right away.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, there's a little bit of ego in a lot of those types of conversations, a little bit of like, you know, what can you get me? What do I deserve, et cetera. None of that out of Nick, like right off the bat. And I want to hear your perspective of this meeting, but like all he asked in that meeting was, what's possible and what do I have to do to unlock that? And there was no like trying to accelerate it or push it or anything like that. We told him and he said, okay. And then he left the room. That was like it. And I checked in like 2 weeks later and he's top rep in the office and got 2-3 reps, you know, that he brought on board, just doing what he was told he had to do to get what he wanted out of it. And
TRK.
it was cool. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think because that's why I have such love and respect for you guys, because like you told me, okay, what you put in is what you get out. Do X, Y, and Z, you'll get this. I said, say less, okay, because I was promised that at every other company prior. I was like, well, I'll give this a go one more time and see if this is really going to pan out. And it ended up working out. And literally after that meeting, I was like, okay. I went right back to the sales office. I'm like, all right, we're all leaving because this guy's a scum of the earth. Like, we're never going to work with him again. And we're going to have a flourishing opportunity. Let's go. And then, like, the next week, I brought in, like, 8 guys. And then, like, they were all, like, they knew how to sell solar. But I was like, let's just all, like, blow this thing up. And I just, from get-go, I'm like, all right, this is the team. We're going to shake things up. Let's make this a thing. And got everybody to buy into the concept. And then all of our guys were selling. I was selling. And then I was starting to bring in more people. And then we just blew up. And then,
did you transfer to our tools and process pretty seamlessly? Was it a difficult transition, or did you feel like it enhanced you? And this was what year?
21.
Okay.
Yeah, November
so
21
actually wasn't a very dialed year for systems, because 22 it actually got hard. We got to a threshold where stuff started to break because of volume. So 21 it was good, but starting to break.
Yeah.
For you, did it feel like that, or did it feel like it was better?
So towards the end of when we were leaving the other company, they had Sunrun as like a third party, and I had their tools, but it was brief. It was like a month, but I knew how to like create, like do a design and, you know, upload docs, whatever. But yeah, no, it was great. I think that
Nick's also funny, and you could just tell by talking to him, like he doesn't ask, he just hits all the buttons.
Figure it out. I'm a big trial and error guy. My wife hates that because I trial and error. She's like, how many times have I told you? I was like, well, I got.
But how perfect is that for sales? He's like, I don't know. There's the unlimited doors. I'll just try everything.
Yeah.
You know. And
Say something to this guy. Told me to kick rocks. Okay, let me try this one. All right, that kind of work, but not.
I was like, hey, just let me tell you something before you go.
Literally, yeah, relax.
I just picture your iPad just rendering, just thinking, like trying to execute on every command you've given it.
if there's ever someone at corporate that's like, who did this button, and it's Nick.
Why'd you push it 700 times?
I was like, I have no patience. I'm like, let's go. Like, come on. What are we doing? But yeah, no, the transition was great too. Seamless. I just like, I couldn't believe that this was real a thing. Like I say this all the time, I stepped in shit. Like I'm not even kidding. This job to me is built for me and the personality and the guy that I am. Personally.
How so? Explain that.
Because like, remember, mind you, full 3-piece suit, that's me, but not me. Like this is me. This is how I would normally dress and I can come into work like that. So comfortability of like just being myself. I can be outgoing, I can be loud, I can shake things up, and like that's encouraged.
You feel like you're your full self.
Yeah, it's like my personality flourishes.
And it's an advantage.
Yeah.
Versus something you have to kind of like keep
scale
in
back.
the suit.
Because like, right, you're a professional business owner, right, of, you know, in your client's Verizon, like you have to be, you know, more professional. And here, it's not that I'm not more professional, but I'm just raw, you know. What you see is what you get.
You're authentic, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, then it's just like the opportunity to earn, right? Like there's no cap on what you can do. You're not gonna get there with 50 installs, but if you can get 150 installs, you can make that kind of money, you know?
And that lights your fire.
Yeah. And then it's not even just for me though. It's for the guys that like I feel like I owe it to. Like, okay, you came in, I brought you in, I'm responsible for your well-being. Let's make sure you eat, right? And my biggest concept of this whole job is it's a people helping people business. If you help enough people get where they need to be, then you get where you need to be. And I'm just like, that's my philosophy of life, and like with work, that's how I just view things. You gotta be selfless with this stuff.
One thing that I experienced with you just a couple months ago, and you probably have examples of this, I assume it's not out of the ordinary, but you were a captain for the Run X Tour, which is awesome, by the way. That, for those that don't know, that's the top 25 people in cumulative performance in every competition and sales target throughout the entire year. So it takes into account everything. It's the all-stars, right, pretty much. And you were top 25, which is a massive compliment to you, and congratulations.
Appreciate that.
Thank you at the same time, because it's inspiring to our whole sales force. So we have this dinner downtown Salt Lake, and we came in the night before the draft to do the dinner. We were sitting at the dinner, and then I was walking to my car, and it was Nick and Jeff Selniker. And like I was just walking, and they had a couple questions. We ended up standing on the street corner for like an hour, hour and a half. And the level of like, I was happy to stand there as long as we could have, because there was so much energy in your question. Like you honestly like wanted to know. But the level of detail, most people don't know to ask those questions. Stuff like, all right, well, you know, once your team transitions from 20 to 25, the vision starts to get watered down. So how do you keep the vision hot? And it's like, all right, I got all the time in the world to ask a question.
How often do you get that question?
Never. Yeah, never. And so they're all like work related, like how do I do better, not how do I get something, like you had spoken to. And so I've always found that, like, we've said this so many times on this podcast, but the three different types of people that you'll lead, right? Those that see it when shown, and those that'll never see it. And so you strike me as someone that sees it, but then once you're shown, you like, it's like
Gasses
rocket
me up,
fuel. Yeah. And so maybe talk about that, and if you've seen that experience. Like, the best leaders are the best students. You know what I mean? I think of like when Devin Arp first came into the industry, he came in at Thousand Oaks. I was living in Thousand Oaks, and so my office I was working out of was right next to the sales room. And he'd always come in and be like, sorry to pound you with questions, but I have like 15 questions. And I'm like, the very best use of my time right now is answering these 15 questions, because I know you're gonna go ignite a fire with them. So maybe talk about your philosophy with that, and then I'd love to hear if you've seen moments like that too.
The thing is with me, when I was doing the cable and I was running a sales team, I was a child. I was like 24 years old running a business and had no idea about P&L statements. Like I had an accountant, okay, I trust you. You're probably embezzling money, I have no idea, right? And I was very immature. So like when I'm managing people that are older than me, or even, you know, same age or younger, just in general, like I didn't know how to like build a conversation or whatever. So like I always thought, I was like, and I left and I worked for corporate and did cable sales there. I always like, if I always had the opportunity to run a sales team again, I would do it totally different, and this is how I would do it. And now getting that opportunity to be able to do that now, that's what's invigorating me and getting me excited. So when I ask you questions, I know a lot because I've had management experience. It's just, I wonder if I'm doing it right here. So when I ask you those things, it's like, okay, you know, how do I scale? How do I, can you send me the plan of like how you ran your business, and like, let me put it into my own words and present it to my team and get buy-in from them, and that's how we grow. I just want to make sure I'm doing things the right way. You know, that's the main thing for me. And then like, these guys give me free range to pretty much like, yeah. And like, oh, if I'm like doing something that's like, yeah, I probably shouldn't say that or do this, but like small things. But for the most part, they kind of give me free rein to like, yeah, make it happen.
Yeah, it struck me as some people want to prove that they can do it on their own, as if it's somehow better if you do it on your own versus getting help. It's not. But at the end of the day, it seemed to me like the questions and the desire for knowledge and insight and context was simply because it's like, this will speed me up. There was no, oh, I don't want you to feel like I don't know the answer to this. It was like, I don't care what this looks like. I need 5 answers that will speed me up. And I thought it was very productive. I literally, when I think back on my year last year, of some of the most like poignant, I mean, it was a streetlight conversation. I just don't get to have those very often, you know what I mean? And so when I think back on it, like that was one of my favorite like developmental conversations of last year. And it's just because you had a person on fire asking someone that has passion for the job, and it was like in flow. It was like us 3 were the only people there. I don't know who was passing us. There was a concert like letting out, and I don't know how long we were on that street corner. I don't know how cold it was.
It was like an hour.
We were locked in.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
We were going boom, 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 boom. And the other thing too, like when we were at the, like it's one of my main things of like to get out of that experience was like, I got to get with you for a little bit and kind of get to know me a little bit more, and then like find out your mindset on things. Like that was important for me because I mean, you're like a legend in this industry. So it's like, you know, you're the number 1 person in our street, right? So I got to pick your brain, you know, and I felt like that was the thing.
That's where Nick, like the scale we're talking about, don't see it, see when shown, or see it. Like what Nick sees that so many people don't see and need to be shown too often is action. So like what he knows without needing to be shown is that he needs to move. He's like, you'll never see him sitting still because he just knows he doesn't need to be shown that that's not going to do anything for him. And so when he's on a street corner with you, he's like, well, the smartest way for me to move is to ask questions right now. But if you weren't on that street corner and there's a door over there, Nick would go knock the door. And he's like, when I have the opportunity to like ask some questions, I will, but I don't need to have that to go start.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's like, it might be less productive. I might make more mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, so I'll stop and get those answers when I can. But if not, I'm gone. You know,
it feels like jujitsu. It's like, I'm going to work this, but if you give me the arm, I'm going to take the arm. You know what I mean? Like just tuned to it.
Yeah.
I love that, man.
I just wanted to ask too, because a lot of people who have met Nick, like who now work for him and work with him, they're like, oh, this guy's been doing the job for 3 years. You know, that's what they'll think. But like, you've been doing direct sales since you were 21, 22. And when people meet you, one of the first things they come away with is how much like if they could see into your gas tank, it's freaking full all the time.
Yeah.
And I actually want to know from your perspective how you keep doing that. We had convos the last few days about like, you know, how you do your schedule and operate. But there's a lot of people, even a year into this or 2 years into this, and like their fire isn't like what it was in month 2.
Right.
So what makes you different? Because you're real different in that regard.
And I think like anybody that's been door-to-door sales forever, right, knows like majority of people can't do it for a long period of time, right? Like shelf life on a lot of things is like a year or so, and like if you can get burnt out. So for me, with this job, like what reinvigorates me is more like there's always new things that we're learning, right? There's always new things, new metrics and hitting targets and things like that. But helping people make something of themselves, like somebody that's like got maybe no college experience and needs a job, getting them from okay to good. Getting somebody that's like, hey man, I hate my job, I hate what I do in life. Like, why don't you come join this cool culture and make some real money, and getting them to be good to great, right? Changing people's lives is what like gasses me up. Like, okay, I ask you these questions. Okay, I know that taking this information is going to help the sales team grow and make money and do well for themselves. You help enough people get where they need to be, then eventually you get where you need to be. So it's like, it's just the people, like that's what gasses me up, like just seeing people succeed, do well, make money.
And that's why I see all your shadowing pics that you post are with like 4 dudes, like a whole posse.
Yeah, squad, man, we gotta run
You're
straight.
like, why help one when I can help 5?
Right, let's like try to get as much as you can. And whether you hear a one-liner or something, right? Like, you know, or like just see like how I overcame an objection, or just working hard. Some people just don't work hard. Like, we just gotta work, dude. Like, just knock doors, go, just do it. Like, embrace the suck, right? Just do it, you know? Like, I think like that kind of stuff is what, I like the praise, I'm not gonna lie, you know? I like, you know, you guys say I'm good and stuff.
That franchise status hoodie you're wearing?
Yeah, I had to wear it today.
I had this experience in 2015. An old sales leader of ours, Reno Mendenhall, he took his region to do this Navy SEALs pretty much beat down is what it was. It was a 20x challenge. It's designed to show you that you're 20 times more capable than you think. So it's like Hell Week for civilians in a day. And so it was down on it was down in San Diego County, and we're with Navy SEALs. We're in and out of the ocean, and we're doing push-ups and got sand and all that kind of stuff. And they do these certain things to tug at like the injustice like like bone in your body where there was this one rep that was with us. He was a fit like 240 pounds. And I'm like, at the time I was like a wiry 963. Yeah. And so what they did is they had us like take these bags, and they'd cut the foam out of the backpacks, and they were all like, the straps were different sizes just to kind of like bug you. Yeah. And so they're like, hey, you both fill this sandbag up with sand and drop it in your backpack. We had the same amount of sand. This guy's 70 pounds heavier than me, and we have the same. So it's just stuff like that, where it's like I start walking, and immediately it's like, this is cutting me. Why? He should have 20 more pounds and all that kind of stuff. I had gotten to, and so we had these bags, and then we had these things, they call them your weapons. They were PVC pipes full of sand. And you could never let them touch the ground, and your team couldn't let it touch the ground, because if you did, you had to jump in the ocean. So it's just that's the scene.
Yeah.
And I was in my head. And I got to the point where I was like, dude, I don't know if I can do, like my arms felt like they were going to fall off. At the end of the day, we walked like 18 miles like that. Like, and it was just like, and every now and then they had to do stuff. They'd be like, well, Darrell can't walk anymore, so you guys got to carry him, and do not let those weapons touch the ground. And so it's just like, it was awesome, but it was hard. And so I was in my head at this one point, and I was like, I think I'm gonna drop my weapon. Like I don't think I can move forward anymore. And one of the SEAL instructors came up to me, and he kind of like saw me suffering, and kind of just came over my shoulder, and he was like, hey, are you hurting? And I was like, yeah, I'm cooked. I'm about done. And he's like, look around. And he's like, who's in worse shape? And I saw this guy who started in pretty good shape, but he was literally 2 minutes ahead of me in like bogging out. And I was like, and we have to wear our names on our chest. And I said this guy's name, and he goes, go grab his weapon and carry it for him. And in my head, I was like,
dude, like, what are you doing to me?
I'm gonna die out here.
Yeah.
A half mile from the freeway, you know? Yeah. And so I went over and I picked up his weapon, and he's like, dude, thank you. And I got this surge of energy that I cannot explain, where literally my shoulders went back, I stood up, and I was like, you got this, let's go, I've got you. And I carried that thing for another hour, right? And so the interesting thing is, what I hear in your story and what I experienced that day is, and it sounds so cliche, but when I'm focused on what I get out of this and how much longer I have to suffer until I get my reward,
Right.
you can't find fire. But if you can look up and be like, hey, Nick is struggling, go help him, all of a sudden have all the energy in the world. And that's a real principle. It's not just a feel-good thing that we say.
Yeah.
And so like, I'm identifying, we just made our full year 25 plans, and so I'm identifying in you your vision, which is, you've said it twice now.
Yeah.
If I can help other people get what they want, I know I'm gonna be good.
Yeah.
So it's like, I know I'm not gonna die. I know I'm gonna be out here for the next 8 hours. If I can help you, then I'm sure I'll be fine. And what I found is the second half of that day, I had energy, I had vitality. I could look around and be like, this sucks and is awesome.
Yeah.
Right? The first part of the day, I couldn't see past my own mess. You know what I mean? There's a real like, I don't know how to like imbue that into people, because it seems like it's a hard thing to snap out of. It's easy when there's a massive American hero over your shoulder being like, go do that. Yeah. Right? But when you're selling, a lot of times you're alone, or you're like, I've been doing this for 10 years. And a lot of times you lose your fire when you stop helping other people get
Well, that's what keeps you out there, like
you
somebody.
You talked about the leader who had his feet up. What's, the difference between that versus being in the field, carrying their weapons sometimes, 4 people with you, taking a guy out till 9 p.m., et cetera. Like, you described it as you wanted to do it differently than you saw it being done and were a part of being done before. Yeah, I mean, like, you just build credibility with these people. Like, hey, like it's not I'm just talking and saying you need to do it. Like, let me show you how to do it. Let's go. Come on. We can do this. We can make it happen. And it's not just doing it for them, because I feel like a lot of people just try to do it for them. It's instilling the confidence to project them to do it. So, like, if they're at the door, they're pitching, like, nah, I'm not good. It's like, all right, well, here's the objection we talked about. Not, like, literally in front of the customer. Like, don't care. Like, they shut the door, they shut the door.
You're like, excuse me, sir. We talked about this today. Tell him.
Literally. I'm not even joking in the slightest bit. And then, like,
you're like, he's gonna give you one more try. Give him one more try.
Yeah.
No, you got it.
Yeah,
he'll listen.
And I then you walk away from that, and not only you're building rapport because you're getting to know somebody, you're out in the field, you're having fun, you're making the job cool and fun and different, right? You're making money at the same time, and they're going to attribute some level of their success to you because you took the time out to develop them. And then that's where you're making those deposits and you're helping these people out. And then down the road, God forbid, if I'm like, hey man, I got like 6 trainees today, like you might just taking a shadow for me and just help me. Yeah, I got you, whatever you need. And like, that's how you build culture and camaraderie and grow a team, is that mindset versus like, oh, I'm up here, I got to do this, and if you'll figure it out. And then there's no direction. I don't feel like I'm being helped. I feel like I'm just walking around the field, and then I'm negged out, and I don't want to work.
Yeah, it's the same as like if you, like what happens with a lot of people that are like at your tenure now, you've had like a career of this, you earn well. What happens eventually is you start to count the money, and you start to think, okay, like, all right, if I 6, 7 more years, then I think I'll have enough so that I can be good. What happens is you start to slide away towards that goal and your fire kind of goes out, right? I'm thinking back on an experience I had in the summer where I was in Orange County office and I was like, hey, I'm gonna go out and knock today. And right when I got out there, I don't remember what we were talking about. I was on the phone with Chance Allred, and it turned into, this is a long conversation, this is a heavy conversation, I need to go back to the office. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no. Like, I hung up with Chance, we figured it out, and then I went to this rep, I was like, let's get you a deal. Like, I'm never out here with you, we've never done this before, we're gonna get you one. And then all of a sudden, I had this like fire, we got him one, and then I went back and I wasn't tired. I felt great, I felt awesome, right? And it was like, it's not just something where I was like, oh, I helped and that felt good. I was like, who else needs a sale? Like, let's go, we're getting sales today, right? And then I think back on my year, and that was one of the days where I was like, I was on fire that day. I want to live my whole life like that.
You know what? It's like golf, right? Because everybody sucks at golf. Everyone. Nobody's good at golf. But you go and
Taylor Judd's pretty good. Jordan's pretty good. But other than
good
that, yeah.
Compared to like the
good.
vast majority of average people are horrific.
Safe. Everyone sucks at golf.
Yeah. So, like, but you play these 18 holes. You suck on 17 of them, but you get that one strike right down the middle on the green. And you're like, I fucking love golf.
Yeah. Just enough to get you to come back again.
It's the same concept. Will work like you go out, you get your teeth kicked in all day. Let me just get one more door. And then it's always the last door. It's always the last door. And then you get the last door, and then you're like jacked up, like, I just got this deal. And then that's what keeps you going day in and day out. Like, I give people advice all the time. I'm like, listen, man, I've been doing it forever. The only reasons why I'm able to sustain the field this long is because I don't burn myself out, right? Like, if I feel like I ain't got it today, I'm gonna work, but I'm gonna do one thing at least to progress my business. Whether I get an AC, I close a cap, I get a deal, I roll up on an install, pitch around my block, whatever. I'm just doing something every day. And it's those small incrementally things over time which builds you a pipeline. Like Kobe says it, like, all right, I worked out 3 times a day, 4 times a day, right? He's 3:30 to 4, take a break, 6 to 8, get back at it, 12 to 2, right? 6 to 8, right? And I eat in between. And I do that every day, right? So over the course of time, the distance between my competitors that average workout maybe 1 to 2 days, they can never catch up. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So in that kind of context, it's like you got guys like, all right, I'll bust it for a week hard. And like they get like 6 ACs at 2 deals and like they're jacked up and they don't work the next week, right? What happens when one of those cancels, right? And then like it's just that, I see that so much at this job. It's like people sprint and take off, sprint and take off. Just progressively work every day. Worst case scenario, God forbid, go out 5 to 8. Worst case scenario. Like if you're gonna barely work, if you do that, you should make money if you do it every day, right? And over the course of time, your business will get business off of business, and then you'll still be working, and that's when you make crazy money doing this job. It's like compound interest. You get a deal, they give you one, that one gives you one, you're knocking, and then you end up getting 3 or 4 a week, and you're like, I'm pretty good at this.
Dude, there's science to it too. I was on the combine trip, and I started talking to somebody about pipeline. That exact concept of like how to, I don't want to say effortlessly improve, but efficiently improve. Mm-hmm. And eventually all of these people started gathering around to hear it. And I was like, oh, like this will help you, because most people get gassed up, they go, they flame out, they stop. And so that's like you mentioned working out. It's just like if you're really motivated to work out, you work yourself out super hard, then what happens? You're sore, you can't lift, you got this bad memory of it. Then 2 weeks later, you're able to work out again. And if you go hard, it's like, that's the hardest way possible to get in shape. You'd be better to get your steps in every day than to do that. And so it's crazy because they've done these studies, I think it was out of Harvard, on buying impressions. You've probably heard this before, where it takes 6 to 8 buying impressions before you make a buying decision. So you might think that you went out and bought that It's a lot of chain talk. You might think you bought that chain the first day, right? But really, you saw someone with it. Maybe you didn't even notice, oh, that's kind of cool. Then you saw it in a shop, and then you saw somebody else have one. Then we mentioned it on a podcast. And then by the time you're strolling through the mall, it happens to be impression number 5 or 6. You can get it. And so what happens is a rep will go out to a neighborhood, and they'll knock. And on the first time they're knocking, the odds of them selling are very low. That's why the first part of the job is hard, because you're getting a lot of low impression people. The best salesman in the world can't sell an impression number 1, right? You need 5 or 6 to 8, right? And so what happens is the very first time you loop through a neighborhood, that's the hardest your job should ever be. Just like the hardest time you work out should be the first time ever, unless you do the first time ever every month, right? And so then what happens is you'll go out and you'll sell, and they might say, hey, it's a bad time, or my husband or wife's not here, or yeah, we looked into it before, but it's not the right time. So then, if you leave and go to the other house, or maybe you come back the next day, that person that said this is a bad time, they are going to see you, because you knocked that door at 4, which means they're usually home at 4. So even if you can just get a wave off at them, that's impression number 2. And then you get a site survey 4 doors down. That's impression number 3. Then you sell someone on the corner that they have to drive by all the time, and then they see the site survey truck and the install truck. When you loop back around 3 months later, it's like passive income. They got more sold, and you didn't have to do anything except for be there. And so then you knock it again and say, hey, it's been a couple of months. Sorry, it took me a long time to get back to you. In the meantime, I've done these 10. Your odds of getting them are sky high. But if you knock the door, have a bad day, leave, come back 4 days later, you're on impression number 1 again.
Out of the 8 things.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So it's your mere presence in the neighborhood increases your odds of success by simply existing.
It's like all the top reps, you know exactly where they are. Like, where do I work? Right, like that's where I'm at. You know, just go out there.
He's like, and what's my name? All right, thank you.
I was very nervous he was going to answer that. Right, I was like, little like.
You went all in on that test.
I
It
talked
worked.
about me for like the exact area, and I was like, oh damn, I don't know.
He's like 4th Street.
Yeah, well, 8th Street.
8th Street, okay. I heard.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
you know.
Like
It's
it
the
was
number-
8th Street when I heard.
Right.
But
Yeah. But yeah, it's like that, and it's just like it's the exact same thing. Working your territory, peppering it up the first time around. That is extremely crucial, because a lot of these new guys, they think, oh, you went out that one day, got that bill, closed that deal. It's that easy. I'm like, dude, it's not that.
Yeah, it took you 6 weeks of going to the hood every day to have that scenario happen.
Yeah.
The cool thing is the thing that's hardest, like the thing that people work on is like, oh, my pitch. You go to your hood every single day for 5 hours a day, the pitch matters, but it's not the thing. Right. The thing is you started a movement because you communicated with people and you set this impression thing in motion. You changed people's minds. You literally like impacted an area and affected change because you started the conversation. This conversation continued. It went to Glassdoor, and then it went to Next Door or whatever. And then they saw one, and then it was at the HOA meeting, and you're like, all right, cook. And then I'm going to come through and fan this flame. And then eventually, you're the man in Staten Island on whatever street, 4th or 8th? 8th. I want to see 8th Street in Staten Island.
I'll pull up my accounts, man.
I picture us walking down the street, and I was like, hey, Nicky Z. Hey,
Simonson Ave, forget it. Oh my God. Simonson Ave,
try.
So they got the pizza spot, Mama Rosa's on the corner, and then every time I do the same stupid thing, like, I'm in the mood for pizza. Like, you know any good pizza spot? And it's just like Mama Rosa, everybody points, like, it's on the end of the block. Like, that's where everybody goes. But one thing I do.
Good luck to the next guy that tries to knock that street. What street is it again?
Simonson and
Simonson. Yeah, good luck.
Simonson, I got a plethora.
Good luck to that guy.
No, nobody can pitch 8th. There's no shot. Can't pitch it like me.
It's funny to always hear top people, the pride they have and where they work.
Yeah.
Like you talk to some of you, like where you, like if anyone asked them, like Forest Hills, years in one little spot.
Yeah.
You know, and it just
Ventura,
because
California.
it keeps getting better. And you talked about how having pride in the town that supports you. It's like it supports you more and more and more the more you are just there.
Yeah.
Like it's like where you work is begging to give back to you if you're just with it. Like you just have to be in it and around it as often as possible.
So true.
And
Pause your car and write that down. Where you work is begging to give back to you.
yeah.
That's a great point.
Trademark it. It's the 3rd one this week.
Whereas, think about
He's dropping dimes all week.
Just follow this guy around and pick up the wisdom scraps.
but it's like a lot of reps when they're looking at their day, unfortunately, like a lot of people who are not where they want to be, they look at a day and they picture and why it's so hard for them to get the gas in them to get the tank full and get the energy, is they're looking at it and they can feel deep down it's a day of starting from zero, because if you do it only every so often, it's from zero every time. Whereas when you find someone who has some momentum, someone who is moving, some inertia, they almost like can't not, because they're like, it's sitting there. My area is waiting to give me something. If I'm not there to receive it, it's gone. And it's just interesting to hear you talk about where you work. And
I think a lot of it too, with people, like, perception is reality. What you perceive to believe is true. Like, if you feel like, oh yeah, this area sucks, like, yeah, it's gonna suck, right? If you feel like, oh, the area is great, like, yeah, it's probably not great, but you think it is, and you just kind of trick your mind. You just gotta think that way when you're working. Like, this is great, it's a great job. Oh, get out of my house. I'm like, okay, cool. All right, I love this job. It's awesome. Like, and then you gotta think half full, glass half full. Can't think glass half empty. Mental is everything in this job. Like 90% of it is just like you're in your head, and then the rest just be moving in your field. I think the one unique factor, and something that I have, and you can't teach this, but it's just like, I just don't think. Like, I really don't think. I just move. Like, I just know it. I get in my car at 1 and just drive to my area. It's like habitual thing that I do every day. It's muscle memory. Just get in my car and drive. And then, like, on the way, I'm like, okay, so, all right, so who's my follow-ups? Who do I got? But I don't do it before, and I just get in my car and I'm actively, like, then I'm in the zone. I'm starting to, where am I gonna hit? Who am I gonna talk to? Nope, a lot of people just don't do that. I feel like more people just need to just do it. Just get in the car and just don't talk. Just go to your area. Just shh. No, it's not about this. No, shut up. You can walk around all day and say free solar. It's not free, but free solar. You know what I mean? You gotta pay a bill. It's not zero. But you go walk around all day. Hey, solar this, solar that. You can say, hey, do you want solar? Do you want solar? Do you want solar? You will eventually hit somebody. It's like, yeah, I looked into it before. You gotta get them.
in alarms in Fort Mac, Alberta, which is like, we think it's cold here.
Canada?
Fort
You're
Mac,
slang.
Fort Mac
wait,
is like, it's like
what?
mines. It's
Like
where all the
negative
people live
degrees?
in the yeah, like
Negative. I don't understand negative degrees. These negative. You'd see them and it's like they'd say like -40, and you're like, how could you measure that? Wouldn't it break your
frozen?
rule?
Are you not frozen in the field?
less than nothing.
Yeah, like wouldn't it like? Do we have stuff that'll
The
measure
coldest
something?
I ever had growing up was -56 Celsius, which is like -60 something Fahrenheit. This
See,
is
like, why are we
5
even
hours-
counting?
This is like 5 hours north of that, where this guy.
It should be like cold as shit.
So this rep, speaking of like just working, it sounds like it's the lamest thing to be like, well, just work. How many times do you say that to new reps? And they're
Oh,
like,
God.
yeah, but no, but what's magic? Anyways, we hired this guy, someone we probably would have never hired on a normal day, didn't speak English, but he had an iPad. And he just like...
And I've had a crazy look in his eye.
He would knock on the door and hold it up and swipe. He didn't speak.
Oh my gosh.
And he just, and it's negative temperature, like 10 and a half months out of the year. And he would just swipe. And he, in alarms, I think he got like 80 accounts that summer or something, which is like, he's not in the record books or anything, but he made great money. And he beat 2/3 of the office without speaking a word.
It's a hustle, man. Like, just do it. Like,
He just moved more than every other person.
just
See, like in the NBA, you're in the NBA, but you like don't have arms, but you still like made 4 points in a
Imagine if
game.
this guy could speak English.
Yeah.
How good he would have been.
But guys had to like bounce it off your head so you could get in. Like,
we actually talked about
like
that.
this guy
right?
scored,
The guy's like, hey, he kicks it in, but like it's ugly, but it goes in. That's all we care about. We can score.
I'm on a senior leadership thread, and they always JGS, just get started, and because always people are like, well, what if I? And they're like, just that, like when you're like, shut up, just get moving. So James Clear talks about that, where he talks about the order should be execution, strategy, mindset, right, for your level of development. Because a lot of people think like, oh, I need to know everything before I go because I might look stupid. But it's something very consistent I see amongst seasoned door-to-door sellers that come into solar. You, me, where it's like, you don't ask, hey, can you show me how to click and how to attach? And where's once I take the utility, where do I put it? Generally what happens is you get a base for, okay, do these guys know what they're talking about? Is this opportunity good? And then there's kind of like a consistent, like, okay, now leave me alone while I go make a mess and like try this, and then I'm gonna come back with some questions.
So people are scared of the mess.
Yeah, the amateurs come back and like, I need to know everything before I try.
I live in a mess.
The people that actually have success or have experience are like, I know I'm gonna be embarrassed and look stupid on the first 10 or 15 of these. Let me just go get some no's on me, and then I'll come back with really good questions. Then you come back,
Nose on me?
yeah, get
Sounds
some
like
no's on me, you know?
Some nose, like,
Yeah.
get some nose on me.
But it's like when I was
gotta get some
like
nose
when
on
you're a
it.
kid, like when you're like in second grade and your shoes are too white, you're like, I'd get a couple days on the playground. This looks crazy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's how I feel with like
Wait a minute.
my
You wore
knocking
white shoes on the
uniform.
playground? No way.
If I can't, they're white for the first day, you know. Leadership lessons. What if I were to join your downline? What are some Nicky-isms that I would get? What are like core to your philosophy or way of working with leadership? What are some of your core principles?
Well, all right. So the number one thing that I look for in any person that comes in is work ethic, right? I can't teach that. Like you have to innately have work ethic. So whenever I kind of like, okay, we're gonna talk about coming on board. Give me examples of how you possess great work ethic. Like I need to know, like, am I hiring the right person? Am I wasting my time on you, right? I think one of the things that we talked about at the street corner was like, who do you invest your time into, right? My philosophy is 80% of your time with the top 20% of your people and new people that are giving effort, right? Like that's all I care about because if you're willing to work hard, everything else will come into play. So I think the core principle and things that I try to teach people is that like you have to be a work hard, crazy person doing this job. And they're gonna do 80% of what I do. So why I try to take training in the field so seriously is like, if I just do it like the way it's supposed to be done hard today, they're gonna do at least the majority of that and they'll be successful, you know? So I think that's a big core principle that I try to instill in people. And I need people work with some purpose, okay? Like I wanna get to know you and know what makes you tick, what makes you, like why are you, okay, you wanna make money, why? Okay, but for what? And then it's like I'm getting them to start thinking that way. And then when they're out in the field and it's like a bad day or they're having, you know, hey Nick, man, I'm going through this. What about, you said you wanted to buy your wife a house. Is that gonna stop you from, yeah, you're right, but yeah, so then I'll say her name, like, okay, her name's Karen. Okay, what about Karen? What about, like, you know, you want that for her. All right, yeah, you're right. I was like, all right, so listen, so talk to me about some of your objections. Okay, cool. So try to say this instead of that. That might help. All right, good. Let me know, call me at the end of the day. And then it's just genuine care and concern. So I think those main things.
I like that you said genuine care and concern.
Yeah.
Like, so Nick, it has been over the combine in his office and maxed out the draft percent, like a lot of successful new reps. And it's natural because we would measure combine leaders on how many they can bring on. Natural to be extra choosy about who you bring on. And with Nick, I almost have to ask him to be a little bit more choosy because his belief in people is so high, which I think is one of the most different things about you, actually. Like when we go around, especially tenured leaders that have been working for so long, they're like, well, if they're not ready to install 10 tomorrow, like,
Yeah.
you know, what are we even doing? Whereas Nick would have hired the guy with the iPad, you know, that couldn't talk because he
What
would see
language
the
did you
work ethic.
speak?
I don't know.
So like, I'm picturing some Serbian, something like, where'd you come from, man? Descended from the mountain with an iPad.
So yeah, this is a decade ago. I can't remember, but yeah. So like, I guess we just had a conference about like the individual needs, you know, the hierarchy of needs and whatnot. And when it comes to like, you know, just how much you move and how your default setting is to just move. When you meet someone and they want to come on board, I just see you move immediately to help this person. And if someone needs help, I see you like move immediately to help them.
Yeah.
Is that like what drove the success of the new hires in your office? What's your leadership approach to like, how much you help?
It's that. It's like my flop. Like so, we're back in the wolf pack. So we had dinner, and the thing I said was, like, guys, listen, me coming back is going to be this. Like my philosophy is wolf pack means, you know, we all eat together, we pack and hunt together, no man left behind. So if somebody's struggling, I got you. That's my purpose, right? But then again, if you're not giving the work ethic, don't even come to me. If I don't see pictures on terrace, don't even ask, right? It's just clear. Okay, I can't, and then it checks them. They're like, all right, and then 9 times out of 10, it fixes itself because they're just not working hard. And then like, okay, then, oh yeah, you're right. And then I get a lot of conversations like, yeah, man, like, yeah, you're right. I'm not giving the effort. I'm not putting in the work. Well, that's what you need to be doing. It's super simple. Like, don't overcomplicate it. With the combiners, it is that like that love and touch, right? It helps when you have some personality because like you can get to know somebody and then, you know, you feel like you're working for a friend and trying to not let your buddy down versus I'm working for a boss that's like telling me what to do.
One thing I don't know if you consciously do this, but whenever we sit in these settings, it's interesting because I can hear themes that are just, they're probably just normal in your head because that's the voice you've always known, but they do strike us as different. One thing that stands out to me is it seems to be important to you that they figure it out for themselves. Because even in saying like, tell me what makes you tick, and then say, hey, remember this, now let me hear what your problem is, go work that and call me tonight. That's a process where most people would just jump right to, you're freaking out, stop freaking out. Just say this. But then they hang up the phone and they're like, dude, Nick doesn't get it.
Right.
Here, they hang up the phone and they're like, all right, I got it. I got this.
Yeah, it's not about what I'm saying. It's just getting more movement. A lot of these guys too, they're just sitting in the car like, woe is me. I got beat up. 4 people said no. Okay, the goal is 7. Get the 7. Come back to me. We can go over how these conversations went, right? But then he's not like you talk to a rep like, okay, talk to me about your day. Oh well, so a couple guys, like, oh, you didn't work. But then you give me the detail, like, well, I had this one customer, he was really thinking about it. He had a bad experience.
Pitch voice. Tell me what happened.
That's the type of stuff you're saying.
You're not even gonna warrant it with a proper tone.
No, not at all. 'Cause I'm like, it didn't work. So why did I even give you effort? But no, it's like that. It's they're like, I'll spend the time with the people that are giving me like the real genuine effort, and that's I think how you scale. Like for you, like if I came to you with like some BS, like, all right, so how do we grow to 20 people? Okay, well, versus like, this intricate, like, hey, I really want to know, this is what I'm struggling with. Can you, this is what I'm experiencing. You get it. You're like, all right, this guy needs a little push in this direction, and I think it'll be a game changer for him.
Well, and that's what you said, like how you always have time for people that are exerting effort. You don't have to be good, you just have to be trying, right? And if you're genuinely trying, we used to do this thing where when I was running a team, people would call me and say, can you knock with me? And the answer during knocking time is always no. Because the worst thing that can happen is you sit and wait for me. I'm coming off doors, you're coming off doors, so you're gonna sit and wait for me. I'm gonna go into an environment that I don't have any touch points, any hit points in, and we're gonna try to kick something up. So we just took a potential 1-and-1 day to like a 0.4 day, right? As far as odds of getting a sale. And what we would say is, record a pitch or 2, let me hear what's happening. The worst thing you can do is come out of the game. I know you're not gonna score points if you're not in the game. So then tomorrow morning, I'll be at the office an hour before team meeting. Come see me then and we'll dial it in. The people that would come, I've got all the time in the world for them. Most of them never come.
Right.
And so that would always just tell me like, okay, thank goodness I didn't pull off and you didn't pull off, because most people don't want mentorship, they want a break, right? And so as a leader, it's figuring out, and you seem to do a pretty good job at this, is what do they actually need? And if you know their why, and if you've invested in them personally, you can draw them back to that. It's that human touch, right?
Yeah, you just try to be real and take care of those people, And I think when people like want to come off the door because they just want you to do it for them, because we do work commission, so like, oh, if you can really sell, like, help me do it. Like, you don't want to do it for them. I see so many people that try to do it for them. I just try not to do it for anybody. I want to instill confidence for you to do it yourself.
Yeah.
And then they're like, it's going to help you long term. That's how you sustain. That's how you're going to be a good sales rep forever, because you figured it out yourself with a little push.
And that's a level 2 leader would do it for them. Level 2 is like serving. They follow me because they like me. So my whole job in life is to make them like me, etc. So you, first of all, you're franchise. You've crushed level 3. You've been the top installer in any group that you've been a part of several times, and you're teaching them leadership. Like, you're teaching them how to catch their own fish, and that starts to be a level 4. So.
I think that's a big struggle too. Is like, how do I manage my personal field time and the field time with them? Like, how do I do both? And like
the family and the life.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, I got 2 kids. I got a wife. I mean, she's constantly like, oh, you're going away. But she gets it because she did the door to door. So
that
she's
helps.
like, oh, tremendously. I mean, she gets it. Like, all right, come home at 9. She gets it. But then like, I'll be home till 1:30, like 1 o'clock. Like, all right, well, what do you need I'll be involved till 1, and then I gotta go eat, and then I'll come back, and then we'll put the kids in the bed, and then we'll eat together. We'll hang out, and it's to balance all of that with the responsibilities and things. So she's great. Yeah, she really helps with it. And then she does give me the push when I need it, and then she reels me back in when I'm like being too crazy. Like when we have these competitions, like, okay, all right, bigs are coming. All right, so these 2 weeks, like, I'm gonna go gorilla ape shit. I gotta go like work all day. After the bigs, we'll go to Italy. oh, okay, all right. So I'm in on the bigs. You know, I gotta compete though. Like, okay, and that's exactly what we did. You know,
Just locks the door, doesn't let Nick come home.
yeah.
Come home. When
Go
we
back, go
get
back,
to
go
leave.
back.
Yeah.
Drive back upside down now. Go.
Yeah.
What are you excited about for this upcoming year?
I want to be the best sales team in the state and in the region, right? So that's going to be first goal this quarter, be the #1 team in the state.
Install volume?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we got #1, like, you know, and then we hit all our metrics, all our targets. You know, we're going to get them rolled out pretty soon. So we get that dialed in, present to the team. We have a mission, we hit it, right? I want to promote leaders. You know, I want to grow an office and promote people and give them opportunity, right? And I think that's, you know, when you get these seasoned good reps that, all right, I'm at the sales cup full. I'm good. I'm here. What's the next step for me? Now we have an ability with the team lead role. If we grow big enough, there's potential market leader roles, right? I got to see people growing, right? So if you tell me one of your goals is this, then we have higher level sit downs and like, let's go over how we can get you that way. Okay, who's your recruiting plan? Who do we got coming in, right? Okay, do you need me to talk to them? Do you want me to send them to Darrell? Do we need to do like something special? Like what's going on? That kind of stuff. Like that's what I'm excited for. Those are my goals for just to grow the office, grow leaders, be the #1 team in grit, #1 team in Jersey, and make some noise. I'm coming for these Boston guys.
I love it. Well, dude, you're an easy person to root for. I love people that are about something, right? That it doesn't just keep your torch lit, but it literally lights everybody else's. That's the thing I appreciate most about people like in your position, like for the Renex tour. Because you think you're just doing you, and it keeps you excited to like go out and do it. But really, like the amount of people that see that and understand what's possible and keep going, you contribute a lot, right? And now you're starting to see more, and you know, your next chapter is very exciting to me, right? Going into, you know, creating more leaders and expanding and helping them like evolve their lives. There's no cap to where that ends.
Yeah, because when they do well, it just. I love the job, right? Nobody wants to walk in an office where nobody's making money. Everyone wants to walk into a rocking ship that people are making money, buying cool things, doing things fun, having experiences. I just try to provide that every day.
Yeah. Well, and that's what you felt when you came into that office that day, right?
100%.
That's where it all started. It's weird, like we were talking about this, Dave and I were talking about this the other day, but isn't it weird how you can tell? Like your body's so amazing. I always say people are perceivers. Like I could walk in here and you could have had a fight with your wife, and I've never even met your wife, and be like, well, what's up with Nicky today?
Yeah.
Like, how did I know? But people are perceivers. And it's crazy to walk into multiple offices, because some you walk into and you're like, no one even says anything. You're like, uh-oh. Like,
That's why when you have a leader that moves so much, you just
That's right.
stand by him for a minute and you want to start
charge
hijack.
up. You just charge up.
You just want to start moving.
Yeah.
You know, that's why it's so important, you know, for a leader to recognize that and you know, have an impact on the team that way.
Well, thanks for sitting down with us, dude. I'm excited to watch your year, and thanks for all you've done so far, man.
Awesome. Thanks.
If you're listening to this and interested in joining our teams, DM us on Instagram @RunTheLeague.
What are you waiting for? Run the league, shoot us a DM, and let's get going.